A bright flash ripped through a concrete reactor building, sending fire and graphite fragments into the night sky over a silent Soviet city. Flames rose from a shattered core, while glowing debris scattered across the rooftop like burning metal snow. No alarms reached the sleeping apartments nearby, only distant sirens echoing through empty streets. This was not just an explosion, it was the beginning of something invisible, something already spreading through the air. This is Chronicle Vault, where we uncover real events hidden behind silence, secrets buried beneath history, and truths that were never meant to be seen. Tonight, we step into Chernobyl, a disaster shaped not only by failure, but by denial. It began on April 26, 1986, inside reactor number 4, during a late-night safety test in a control room filled with glowing panels. Operators stood over blinking consoles, monitoring unstable readings on analog gauges. The test was meant to simulate a power failure, but critical systems were disabled inside the reactor hall. Control rods were withdrawn, and power levels dropped too low, creating a dangerous imbalance in the nuclear core. Inside the reactor chamber, pressure built rapidly, fuel rods overheating beyond control. At 1:23 a.m., a sudden surge triggered a massive explosion, tearing through steel and concrete structures. A second blast followed, launching radioactive debris into the open air above the facility. The roof collapsed, exposing the core directly to the night sky, flames burning from within. Firefighters arrived within minutes, climbing ladders toward a burning rooftop covered in glowing fragments. They stepped onto radioactive debris, unaware that each piece emitted lethal radiation. Black smoke rose above the plant, carrying invisible particles into the surrounding atmosphere. No one told them the truth, not yet. Inside nearby apartment blocks, families slept peacefully, windows open to the cool night air. Children rested in small bedrooms, while radioactive dust settled quietly across the city. Morning came, and people walked outside, under a clear sky above Pripyat. No warnings were given, no evacuation orders announced, only silence. On April 27th, nearly 36 hours later, buses lined the streets, preparing for evacuation. Residents stood in long lines carrying small bags, told they would return in a few days. They left behind toys, photographs, unfinished meals on kitchen tables. The city was emptied, but the damage had already spread far beyond its borders. Radiation moved across forests, rivers, and farmland, carried by shifting wind patterns. Geiger counters clicked rapidly in contaminated zones, measuring invisible danger in the soil. Clouds carried radioactive particles across Europe, reaching countries hundreds of kilometers away. The disaster was no longer contained, it was global. Back at the site, workers known as liquidators entered contaminated zones wearing basic protective gear. They shoveled radioactive debris from rooftops, exposed to extreme radiation levels. Helicopters flew overhead, dropping sand and boron onto the burning core. Each mission lasted seconds, but the damage lasted a lifetime. In hospitals, first responders showed severe symptoms: burned skin, internal organ failure, radiation sickness. Doctors struggled to understand the exposure, treating patients without full information. Within weeks, dozens died from acute radiation syndrome, their bodies unable to recover. The human cost was immediate and devastating. But what followed made it worse. Government officials minimized the event, issuing delayed statements to the public. Television broadcasts showed calm reports, avoiding details of radiation levels. May Day parades continued in nearby cities, with crowds gathering under contaminated air. The truth was hidden, while exposure continued. Even as radiation alarms triggered in Sweden, authorities denied any major incident. It took international pressure before the scale of the disaster was acknowledged. Internal reports revealed critical design flaws, ignored warnings, and unsafe procedures. But those details remained classified, buried within state documents. The RBMK reactor design lacked proper containment structures, increasing the impact of the explosion. A positive void coefficient made the reactor unstable at low power levels. Engineers had documented these risks before, but no action was taken. The disaster was not just an accident, it was predictable. Satellite images later revealed a massive crater, surrounded by destroyed structures and burned equipment. A concrete sarcophagus was built, sealing the remains of Reactor 4 beneath layers of steel and cement. Even today, radiation still lingers inside the exclusion zone. Nature returned, but the danger never truly disappeared. Abandoned buildings stand frozen in time. Rusted Ferris wheels, empty classrooms, decaying apartments. Dust covers everything as silence fills the city of Pripyat. Wildlife roams freely in areas once filled with human life. The land remembers, even if people try to forget. Over 600,000 liquidators were involved in containment and cleanup operations. Thousands suffered long-term health effects linked to radiation exposure. The World Health Organization reported increased cancer risks, particularly thyroid cancer among children. The consequences stretched far beyond the initial explosion. And yet, many questions remain. How much was truly known before the test? Why were safety protocols ignored inside the control room? And why did it take so long to warn the world? Because this disaster was not only about a nuclear reactor, it was about silence, about information withheld, decisions hidden, and people left unprotected. And history has shown this was not the only time. Decades earlier, behind locked doors and classified files, another program operated in silence. Dimly lit laboratories, government offices, and interrogation rooms became the setting. People were exposed to experiments without consent, without understanding, without control. The goal was different, but the pattern was the same: secrecy, denial, and control. This was MK Ultra, a program designed to explore mind control using drugs, hypnosis, and psychological manipulation. Subjects were given LSD in controlled environments, monitored behind observation glass. Documents were destroyed, records erased, and details buried within classified archives. For years, the truth remained hidden from the public. Different places, different methods, but the same question: what happens when power operates in silence? If you want to uncover more real stories hidden behind controlled narratives and classified secrets, subscribe now. Because the next story goes deeper into MK Ultra, inside secret laboratories where human minds became experiments, hidden rooms, unknown subjects, and a program that was never supposed to be revealed.